In With God on Our Side, former judge advocate to the Air Force, Michael Weinstein, argues that evangelical Christianity is forced on cadets attending the U.S. Air Force Academy. The former Air Force attorney recalls his own experiences, those of his children, and others he spoke with. This is an hour 15 minutes.
Let me introduce our speaker. Mikey Weinstein is the president and founder of the Military Religious Freedom Foundation. He's also the author of this book, just come out by St. Martin's Press, With God on Our Side, One Man's War Against an Evangelical Coup in America's Military. That's available, by the way, in the bookstore here at the museum. Mikey's family has a long and distinguished United States military history, spanning 3 consecutive generations of military academy graduates and over 128 years of combined active duty military service in every major combat engagement our country has been in, from World War I to the current global war on terror. Mikey is a 1977 honor graduate of the United States Air Force Academy. His oldest son and daughter-in-law are 2004 graduates, and Mikey's youngest son recently graduated in the class of 2007 from the Air Force Academy and is the 6th member of Mikey's family to attend the Academy. His father is a distinguished graduate of the United States Naval Academy, and Mikey spent 10 years in the Air Force as a JAG, or military attorney, serving in both a federal prosecutor and a criminal defense attorney. A registered Republican, he also spent over 3 years in the West Wing of the Reagan administration as legal counsel in the White House. In recent years, Mikey has been on an unusual journey for a former United States Air Force JAG officer and a counsel in the Reagan White House. He is now at war with fundamentalists in the military over forced Christian proselytizing at the United States Air Force Academy and in the armed forces. By taking a stand on behalf of his son, who was a cadet at the Academy, Mikey entered a surprisingly vicious battle against venal opponents who routinely threatened his life. Who knew that death threats were a Christian family value? But Mikey has done a great public service in revealing the extent to which Christian fundamentalists have already infiltrated the highest and lowest ranks of our military, and that a crusader ideology is being melded with the most powerful war machine in history. One would think that the clash of civilizations Samuel Huntington warned about would be avoided at all costs. Instead, it appears to be inevitable, as our president's counterintuitive war on terror creates more terrorists, and suicide bombers and martyrdom become more and more identified with a cult of death in Islam. So too, in the name of religion, ideology that borders on mental illness has also infected Christianity. The biggest selling books in the United States after Harry Potter are the Left Behind series, which propagate a cult of death shared by as many as 50 million Americans, and perhaps the President too, who can't wait for the rapture and for our world to end in burning flesh so that their world can begin. Although we spend more than the rest of the world combined on our military, instead of deterring our enemies, we appear to embolden them. And as we lose one war and perhaps another, the jihadis, convinced they defeated the Soviet evil empire, are already savoring the delusion that they will bring the lone superpower to its knees. While we won the battles we lost in Iraq and are losing in Afghanistan because we didn't deliver on our soft power, food, electricity, water, the Peace Corps, not shock and awe. They hate us, our president says, for who we are, not for what we do. So what would Jesus do? Fight hate with hate? As the militarization of our foreign policy continues, it is time to face up to this sick symbiosis between these two fundamentalisms that is driving us towards a new crusade. As much as I'd like to see the 72 virgins meet Dobson and Robinson in the rapture, this time, instead of medieval castles under siege, and we'll have nuclear car bombs, Christians and Jews driven out of the Middle East, and Muslims evicted from Europe. On that cheery note, let me introduce an unholy warrior who's doing a hell of a job waking up the American people to a deep and deadly danger to our democracy, Mikey Weinstein.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Ian, thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. And I also want to thank the Hammer Museum for the opportunity to be here. I flew all night from Tahiti, one of my first family vacation. So I'm not even sure what day it is right now. We landed at noon at LAX and then came right here. I can tell you that I stand before you tonight as a man with the gun smoke in my face because I am at war. I didn't come here just to give a speech for everyone to listen to. It clearly is a call to action. I am not at war with Christianity, despite what the religious right would have you believe about me. I'm not at war with evangelical Christianity. Half of my family is Christian, and in that half we have evangelical Christians whose last name is Christian. But I am at war, and the legions that I lead, we are at war with a small subset of evangelical Christianity, or that's called, I promise I'll just say it one time tonight, it's premillennial, dispensational, reconstructionist, dominionist, fundamentalist evangelical Christianity, or just dominionist Christianity. It's roughly 12.6% of the American public, which is still about 38 million people. Ladies and gentlemen, I got into this fight when that movie came out in February of 2004 from Mel Gibson. I forget the name. I think it was the Jesus Chainsaw Massacre or Freddy versus Jesus. You know, I thought the movie sucked, and I have a right to believe that it sucked. I saw it with a friend of mine who was an evangelical Christian who was just enraptured, no pun intended, by it. He loved it, and that's fine. You know, that's a level playing field when I'm seeing it in my hometown of Albuquerque, New Mexico, with a devout friend who's an evangelical Christian. When I found out, not from my 3 children who at that time were at your United States Air Force Academy, where it costs $360,000 to put a cadet through 4 years, same as at West Point or a midshipman at the Naval Academy, I found out from Christian members of the faculty who contacted me saying, Mikey, do you know what's going on here with this movie? My wife and I had given a lot of blood, sweat, tears, time, effort, and money to the Academy over the years because, to me, the Air Force Academy and the ring that I wear, it was clearly a transcendent experience for me. To me, I view the members of our military as noble and honorable, and for the most part, almost all of them are. But when I found out that the cadets at the Academy and the 6,000 staff were facing the yoke of oppression from the people in charge there, to go see that movie, that's a very, very different thing. I can assure you in the U.S. military, when you're even being gently evangelized by your military superior using the draconian specter of command influence, you know, get out of my damn face, sir or ma'am, is not an option for you. By show of hands, how many people have ever been in the U.S. military out there? Well, first of all, I want to thank you all for your service, and I can tell you my family has a very long tradition, as Ian mentioned before, being in the U.S. military. But, you know, we defeated Hitler, Tojo, and Mussolini in just 44 months without becoming Hitler, Tojo, and Mussolini. Now, as we go after the Taliban, the resurgent Taliban, and Al-Qaeda, and certainly we have to fight. Of course we have to fight. You know, do we have to become the Christian Taliban to do that? Now, for those of you that are here today and those that are watching on C-SPAN, on TV land, I ask you a very simple question. How many of you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, have ever actually spoken truth to power in your lives? Probably in this audience, and also in the TV audience, a higher percentage than the average American has ever actually spoken the truth to a coach, a parent, a teacher, a boss. It's very, very hard to do. In fact, George Orwell stated that when facing universal deceit, speaking the truth itself is a revolutionary act. Well, I'm going to tell you tonight that our very honorable and noble sailors, soldiers, Marines, and airmen are not trained to be revolutionaries. When they go through basic training or go through West Point, Annapolis, or the Air Force Academy, they are not trained to be revolutionaries. They're trained to salute and follow lawful orders. But where were all of us? Where were you? On Tuesday, July 12th, 2005, almost 2 years ago to the day, when on the front page of the newspaper, most reviled by the Pentagon, and that paper would be the New York Times, excellent, erudite, scholarly, sagacious crowd we have here. I would expect nothing less with Ian presiding. On the front page of the Tuesday, July 12th New York Times, the number 2 ranking general among the thousands of those in the Air Force Chaplains Corps, Brigadier General Cecil R. Richardson, made the following new statement of U.S. Air Force policy. Quote, "We reserve the right to evangelize anyone we determine to be unchurched."